This is the EQE53. Not only is it the latest electric car from Mercedes, but it also represents the future of its passenger and performance car ranges. We're going to take a closer look for this European first drive review, but before we get into it, remember to check out the full written content and full EQE coverage over at carsguide.com.au and our EV Guide site section where we answer all of your electric car questions. Let's get into it. Now again, we're not sure how much the EQE53 will cost when it eventually lands in Australia. We're expecting it to be around about the end of 2022 by the time it gets here. But we'd be surprised if it landed for anything less than $200,000. If you're looking for a less sporty and perhaps more affordable version of the EQE, we have some good news. There will be at least 2 grades arriving under this AMG badged 53 version, although the local Mercedes division has not yet landed on exactly what those grades will look like, only that we should expect a rear drive version and an all-wheel drive version. The EQE will go into battle against cars like the Tesla Model S and Audi e-tron GT, but in the near future it will also have to contend with newcomers in this sedan crossover space like the less premium Hyundai Ioniq 6 and sustainability-focused Polestar 5. Standard gear on our top-grade EQE53 sampled for this review includes some impressive kit. On the performance front, it scores items like all-wheel steer, torque vectoring all-wheel drive, adaptive dampers, and a performance brake package. Inside, the car can be equipped with that massive new MBUX dash-spanning hyperscreen touch panel, more on this later, with the expected phone connectivity, wireless charging, augmented reality navigation, and a long list of ways in which this can all be customized. Seat trim is comprised of synthetic Artico material as standard or optionally Napa leather with AMG-specific seats for the 53. Internationally, there's also the option for a ceramic brake package, but check carsguide.com.au closer to the end of 2022 for full Australian specification and options. Now, one thing that's evident straight away from taking a look at the EQE is that it trades away those classic lines of the E-Class sedan for something more futuristic and aerodynamic. But its curvaceousness proved controversial in our office. What do you make of its new design? Tell us in the comments below. I can tell you though that seeing it in the metal does make it a bit easier to understand. It's chunky and imposing, particularly in the AMG grade we were looking at, with the optional matte paint finish managing to toughen up an otherwise sleek shape. At the front, it is missing a bit of the three-dimensional intrigue which usually comes with those big Mercedes-Benz and AMG grills, while the brand has added a bit of shape back through those LED light fittings. The rear, which is at risk of looking a bit anonymous on the lesser versions of this car, is AMG-ified nicely, with a stepped spoiler and elements of the glossy rear bumper which draw your eyes to the width of the car. The length and dimensions of the EQE are made most obvious by those huge wheels, which reach far to the edges of the car with very little overhang at the front or the rear. Like every new set of Mercedes wheels, the massive 21-inch items which the EQE53 wears are designed for aerodynamic efficiency, and one of the few areas where AMG can really go to town, setting this EV apart from the rest of the range. I must admit, the look probably won't be for everyone, especially not some fans of AMG's tough, angular past. When it comes to the design of the EQE53 on the inside, it is properly screen heaven. The screens in this car, there's so many of them, and they are all enormous. And a lot of those functions that you would normally control with buttons or dials have been moved into the screen as well, but we'll talk about that in a second. The seats feel lovely, and there is an SUV-like seating position in this car, which Benz says is designed to make it more familiar for kind of an SUV driver. They know that that seating position is popular for a reason, and it feels a little different, which we'll talk about when we drive the car. Now, other design elements I like, this big sweeping vent across here and these materials used in the door and dash. It does feel properly special, like something that we haven't seen before, even for the Mercedes-Benz brand. Okay, in terms of practicality, you do sit a little higher than you might imagine in a sedan, which is a little bit different, but it does give you a bit more of a commanding view of the road, which is unexpected. I feel like I've got plenty of room in here, and there are some lovely soft trims running down the side, a big cutaway underneath for heaps of extra storage, and some nice finishes in the doors as well. Like everywhere your elbows and arms and hands will touch is soft in the EQE, which is nice to see for a properly premium car. Seats, again, really comfortable. Headroom, not bad. Although I will say one thing, it's really hard to see out the back of this car. It's just a little letterbox of a rear window, which is a bit of a shame. In terms of cabin storage, you get a pocket in the doors here. I'm using a high-vis vest as my demo item this time, and two more in the center console here. There's a wireless charger there, two USB-C ports, a nice big console here, much deeper than the one in the C-Class that we tested yesterday, which is interesting to see. And again, that huge cutaway underneath. Mercedes really taking advantage of this nice flat platform. Okay, rear seat space in the EQE. Can it possibly live up to the promise that was set by the E-Class before it? And I think there are some really interesting things about this, particularly that you sit really quite high, just like you do in the front in this car, from what you would normally consider for a sedan. And I do feel like I'm peering down on the road out of these windows, which is quite interesting. The seat comfort is excellent. And in terms of amenities, you've got quad zone climate control, dual adjustable air vents. There's a hard pocket on the back of the seats and another bottle holder in the door there. So plenty to work with. I must say the most impressive dimension of this car though is its flat floor and how much knee room I have. That's behind my own driving position there. So really impressive.
The EQE has a boot capacity of 430 litres, which doesn't seem enormous given the large footprint of this car, and no doubt has a lot to do with that slinky shape. There's no frunk in the EQE either, so this is a car perhaps more focused on passenger space than it is on its ability to carry things. The EQE sits on an all-new platform dubbed EVA2. This means it benefits from a completely flat floor and large battery capacity, as well as new generation electric motors. Producing massive power figures of up to 505 kilowatts and 1000 newton meters of torque with the optional AMG Dynamic Plus package, there's no question the 53 version we tested for this review not only has the punch to overcome its own weight, but also the ability to outsprint its combustion predecessors. In fact, this car will sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers in just 3.3 seconds.
When it comes to range and charging, both the EQE350 and EQE53 share a 90.6 kilowatt hour battery, granting this one, the 53, a range of just over 500 kilometers. When it comes to charging though, this one charges on AC at 11 kilowatts or 22 kilowatts optionally, which is nice with a battery this big, and on DC it can charge at a rate of 170 kilowatts, which is really quite fast.
Clearly, performance EVs have a similar issue to performance combustion cars in that energy efficiency takes a bit of a dive when you have such powerful motors. The EQE53 is said to consume in excess of 20 kilowatt hours to 100 kilometers, which makes it relatively energy hungry amongst EVs. It's about on par with the Porsche Taycan, for example, but still notably below the consumption of the Audi e-tron S.
Okay, so hopping behind the wheel of the EQE53, and this car is fascinating in so many ways. In some ways it feels enormous, but in other ways it feels really quite light and controlled really well too. I will say these displays are full on. Like, I feel like there's a lot of information coming at me as I drive. And the craziest thing about them is the fact that the entire dual screen setup here is mirrored in the holographic head-up display. So it's twice the amount of information I think you possibly need. Although that does leave a big breadth of customizability for this car to display everything you might want to see. I was expecting this SUV-like seating position to really take away from the potential sporty feeling of this car, but I've got to say it really doesn't. All it serves to do is help me position the car a little bit better and see down onto the road a bit more. It's really well executed. The steering, like all AMG models, is really quite accurate. I don't have any problems with this steering at all, and you can even optionally get the rear wheel steer, which, if it's anything like the one I experienced in the C43, will be really quite good. Performance is strong. If you're searching for that Tesla, throw yourself back into the seat action, this is what this car provides. It's almost to the point of violence. You just step on it and wow, I'm just impressed that the tires can even hold on at that kind of torque, at that kind of speed. It's incredible. And the handling is excellent as well. The funny thing about the handling though is it doesn't feel frumpy at all. Like 90 kilowatt hours is a lot of batteries. And I feel like when I throw it into the corner, there's still so much control on offer in this car. I'm really quite impressed with how it does it. And it's not just control, it's the fact that this car is firmly sprung but it has a bit of a soft edge to it, and that means it offers control but not too much ride discomfort. I have been in the comfort mode and in the sport mode, and given that these European roads are a lot better sealed than the ones back home, it still feels great, as far as I can tell so far. Hopefully you can hear that now. That's the AMG driving sound. It's quite interesting. AMG have put a specific noisescape in this car compared to what will be in the EQE350. And it does remind me quite a bit of the BMW sort of Hans Zimmer soundtrack that they put in the iX and other electric Beamers as well. It's tied in with the accelerator, wheel speed, drive mode, you name it. And the idea is to kind of add that kind of drama that's missing from electric cars. If you drive a Tesla even this fast, it won't make a sound at all. And there's something about that silence which is really impressive, but a lot of people searching for an AMG are looking for that aggressive soundscape, and that's what's tried to be added here. It is kind of cool the way that sort of all these parts work together to kind of generate a sound at certain speeds and certain drive modes, but I don't know, I can't get used to it. It's not the same as having a big engine in the front. It's not the same as really ringing a combustion motor out. It's just different. When it comes to being an EV, there are some interesting characteristics. Like some of the best EVs on the market, you do get paddle shifters where you can control your regen braking, and there are 3 levels. The top level turns regen off completely and relies on the mechanical brakes. The second level adds a nice level of regen, whereas the third level is truly a single pedal driving mode, and that's the one you'll probably want to be using if you want to make the most of that electric range. In that top single pedal driving mode, it does feel a lot like the Teslas. Like the moment you start to let off the accelerator, it's recouping as much as it possibly can. This is the kind of thing that we should be looking forward to in this electric era. Cars that can truly do both. They can be a luxury car and they can be fast.
We don't yet know what the final equipment for the Australian market EQE will be, but expect a standard array of active safety equipment from freeway speed auto emergency braking to adaptive cruise and lane support functions. There's also comprehensive airbag coverage available, as well as child seat mounting points. Check out the full review at carsguide.com.au for the details. Mercedes-Benz vehicles are offered in Australia with a 5-year and unlimited kilometre warranty, but we don't know what service intervals or costs will be involved with running an EQE in Australia yet. Expect it to be most affordable with a prepaid service plan purchased at the same time as the car.
The EQE53 is a really impressive machine. There's so much in here that is a big departure from what you might expect from a traditional E-Class, for example. This car is effortlessly capable. It's super fast, but it's also incredibly comfortable. And your view of the road, this new seating position, this new platform, the way that this car is laid out is something really new and special. Given the controversial shape of this car, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to feel quite different, but it's actually far more futuristic and focused than I expected it to be. I'm curious to see what people make of it when it arrives in Australia.